Hey y'all, this is Richard. Today is Friday, March 25th, 2022, and I'm taking a quick break from mowing the grass to make a video. I realized I hadn't made one this week, so anyways, way too windy out here to do a video outdoors, so take a break in the vehicle. But so three things today. Item number one, public service announcement. When it's rainy and it's rush hour and traffic is heavy, don't go trying to close the distance when somebody's trying to make a lane change. Yes, I'm talking to you, Trashbeard, in your white Kia. Just be glad not letting you back in after you did that was the only thing that I did. One day, you're going to run across somebody a lot less disciplined than me, and they're going to give in to your attempts to bait somebody into road rage. So, second item, Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. I only need to say one thing about her, and that is if you cannot clearly identify the difference between a male and a female, then you are not qualified to be deciding constitutional law. It's very simple. So it does not matter to me what her gender or her race or anything else like that. It is a very simple thing that if you can't even do that much, you're not even qualified to be telling me what I should get at your favorite restaurant, much less deciding what my Constitution says. So no, she is disqualified, in my opinion, from holding that position in our government. And I don't plan to address the issue of her again, even though I think that what's probably going to happen is Congress is going to be stupid enough to recommend her. So probably by a narrow margin on party lines, but that's just another measure of where this country's going. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say about her. But anyways, so next up, the situation in Ukraine. I've stayed away from that topic, been listening to what people are saying from different standpoints, different perspectives, and there's a few important things that people need to realize, and that is, number one, the situation the last time the Russians came knocking at Ukraine was mishandled. And that invited them to explore that weakness that was demonstrated. So what's going on in Ukraine right now is a direct consequence of how Ukraine mismanaged that situation, but also the rest of the world, including the United States, did as well. So that's the first thing to realize about Ukraine. Second thing to realize is that while the popular support for Ukraine throughout the world is pretty strong, and probably the overwhelming majority of people in first world countries do support Ukraine not having their sovereignty stepped on by Russia. The governments of the world are taking a more pragmatic approach, and they are sitting cheering on the sidelines but doing next to nothing. And they're not willing to because Russia still has nukes. They may be downgrading from a second rate world power to a third rate world power as far as their conventional military is concerned. They're still a first rate nuclear power. And I don't think Putin is right in the head. I do think that it's suspicious that the other high ranking officials in Russia who might be in a position to restrain Putin's behavior on that front are now missing. That's kind of concerning. So, yeah, I think that Putin is unbalanced enough to actually pull the trigger on that, and he only needs one loyal, competent missile crew to do their job one time in order to make that point. And I think if pushed, he probably would do it, and that's what I think the calculation that the rest of the world is reaching as well. So they're going to let him do his thing in Ukraine, barring any developments as far as using, actually using his nuclear arsenal. They're all worried about, oh, we're afraid he's going to use chemical weapons and all this other stuff. No. In this day and age, chemical weapons outside of low-level stuff like CS riot gas, no, chemical weapons are just not a viable weapon in today's world. So I have no concerns about him deploying anything other than maybe riot gas, which we deploy here on the streets in the United States. So that's not considered chemical warfare because it's just something to get people to stop doing whatever it is they're doing. So it doesn't kill people. So, barring any nuclear developments, barring any advance on any of the surrounding NATO countries, I think that Putin probably is going to walk away with a big chunk of Ukraine, if not all of it, just by sheer weight of numbers. It's going to be, no matter what, it's going to be expensive for Putin. So, he's basically already reached his minimum goalpost for being able to claim a victory. So now he's just got to let the clock run down on it and see how much he can walk away with in this scenario. So, whereas the Ukrainians, in order to pull off anything more than a Pyrrhic victory, basically have to run Russia completely out of Ukraine and have to rout them on all fronts. And while that's not outside the realm of possibility, it's pretty unlikely. So I would love to be wrong on that. I would love to see the Ukrainians take back every single inch of their soil. But I also realize that that's probably not how it's going to play out. So, as far as Western and specifically U.S. Military intervention in the situation, I'm against that simply because of two things. Number one, it's still fresh in my mind how the civilian U.S. government mismanaged the global war on terror. So I don't trust them to handle it properly. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that unless we're willing to advance all the way to Moscow and hold Moscow for 100 years and occupy it, unless we're willing to go that far, we shouldn't go at all. So, and right now, I don't think that the Western world or the United States has the stomach for that, and I think Putin knows it, and I think that Putin's timing for doing this, right after our government mishandled the withdrawal from Afghanistan, I don't think that that's a coincidence at all. So, yeah, it's Putin played his hand well, and as long as he doesn't overplay it, he stands to walk away with a net gain. But he's also, I think, unhinged enough that he could end up shooting himself in the foot and walk away with nothing. So anything could happen, and God only knows what will happen. And that's really why I'm not terribly worried about the situation, is because God's already decided the outcome on this. And there's really nothing we can do about it to shift that outcome in any direction. So for people that are wanting to, or saying that they're wanting to go and help fight in Ukraine or whatever, I think that's a pretty poor idea. There have been some videos come out of people's misadventures in trying to do that. It's hard to tell, what the actual truth on the ground is, but I can say this much. Ukraine does not have the personnel infrastructure to be filtering out all these foreign volunteers to try and catch Russian infiltrators. Anyone who goes there runs the risk of being accused of being a Russian infiltrator. And unless you have a direct vested interest on the ground in Ukraine, you shouldn't be there. It's not your fight. So don't go walking into a war zone that you don't have any business being there. So there's just very little likelihood that things end well for you. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say today. Thanks.